All right, let's get right into it. Have you ever just stared at something you know you have to do, like a project or even just a messy kitchen, and felt completely frozen? Like you just can't start? Well, if that sounds familiar, this is for you. We're going to really dig into what's happening there because it's probably not what you think. Yeah. How many times have you said that to yourself? It's like this default label we just slap on whenever we can't seem to get going. You see it on your to-do list. You know it's important, but for some reason you just keep putting it off. I'll do it later, you tell yourself again and again. Oh yeah, this one's a classic. Your computer is probably a graveyard of half-finished ideas, right? You get this incredible jolt of excitement, you dive in head first, and then poof, the energy just completely evaporates. And this is the part that drives you crazy, isn't it? You actually want to do the thing. You can picture it being done, you can imagine how great that'll feel, but then the moment comes to actually start and it's like running full speed into a brick wall. Seriously, what if that whole lazy story you've been telling yourself is just wrong? What if there's a real biological reason for this constant, exhausting fight?
Okay, so let's put these two things side by side, because getting this difference is honestly the key to unlocking everything.
Look at this. This is the whole game right here. Laziness is about desire. You just plain don't want to do it. But for a brain wired for ADHD, it's about activation. The desire is there. It's screaming at you, even, but the brain's ignition switch feels broken. That's a universe of difference. And it's so much more complicated than just procrastination. I mean, you can probably focus for hours and hours on something you love, right? That's hyperfocus. But at the same time, you're walking around with this heavy backpack of guilt because you can't manage to consistently do the easy stuff. So why? Why does this happen? Well, the answer isn't a flaw in your character. It's actually all about your brain chemistry. Let's talk about a little molecule called dopamine. The easiest way to think about dopamine is that it's your brain's go button. It's the chemical that says, hey, this is worth doing. Let's get that reward. It's what gets you started and keeps you going. And here is the absolute game changer. Research shows that ADHD brains tend to have less available dopamine buzzing around. It's kind of like trying to start your car with a really low battery. You can turn the key all you want, but you just don't have enough juice to get the engine to turn over for boring, everyday tasks. And this explains so much. A low-reward task, like folding laundry, gives you zero dopamine, so starting it feels physically impossible. But a looming, urgent deadline that floods your system with adrenaline and other chemicals, which finally gives your brain the jolt it needs to get started. It's why so many people with ADHD are absolute masters of the 11th hour miracle. I really need you to hear this loud and clear. This has absolutely nothing to do with how smart you are. You can be a genius and still find it impossible to start loading the dishwasher. And this is the most important thing I hope you take away today. This is not a moral failing. It is not a character flaw. It's not a lack of willpower. It's simply a neurological difference. It's about wiring, not worth. So if just trying harder isn't the solution, what is? Well, we need a totally different approach, a strategy that actually works with your brain's wiring instead of fighting against it. See, here's the thing. Your brain couldn't care less about your good intentions. It doesn't respond to you thinking, I should really do this. It responds to action, even the tiniest little bit of action. We have to find a way to manually kickstart that engine. So here's a super practical way to do that. It's called the 5-minute rule, and it's deceptively powerful. Just pick one thing you've been avoiding. Then get your phone and set a timer for just 5 minutes. Now here's the most important part. You only have to commit to starting. You give yourself complete and total permission to stop the second that timer goes off. The goal isn't to finish, it's just to start. Because you'll find that just getting over that initial wall is almost always the hardest part. Think about it. All this time, you've probably been trying to use strategies that were built for a totally different operating system. It's like someone gave you a map of Paris and dropped you in the middle of Tokyo. You weren't the problem, you just had the wrong map. So the next time you feel that resistance, that wall, I want you to try and remember this. That feeling isn't a sign of failure. It's just a signal telling you that it's time to stop pushing against the wall and just find a different door. So what's one thing you can give just 5 minutes to today?